Ag bugger right. People before profit solidarity. Ich hab the Mick.
Tánaiste, a moratorium on electricity and gas disconnections is in place for this winter. For most customers, the moratorium is in place from the beginning of December to the end of February. For vulnerable customers, the moratorium will apply from October to March. This moratorium is very welcome, but does it apply to all electricity and gas customers? Approximately 10% of electricity users now use the pay-as-you-go system. That would approximate to about 200,000 homes. For low-income households, the percentage would be higher, I suspect much higher. One constituent I spoke to last night estimated that every second house in her estate uses pay-as-you-go. For the purposes of this contribution, I'm going to call this constituent Noreen. It's not her real name. Noreen lives on the north side of Cork City with her husband and 3 kids. She is spending €100 a week on electricity, gas, and on heating her home. She spends €20 a week on blocks and briquettes for the stove. She uses pay-as-you-go for her electricity, €50 a week to top up. She uses pay-as-you-go for her gas, €30 a week to top up. Noreen goes to the Centra once a week to buy those top-ups. When she is down to the last €2 on her credit, a beep goes off in the house. When she is down to 0, the beep goes off again. She is then allowed €10 emergency credit. If this runs out before she tops up, she is then disconnected. So my question is this: what happens this winter if Noreen's emergency credit runs out and she cannot afford to top up? Will the emergency credit be extended? And if so, will it be extended without limits? Or will she and others in the same situation be cut off? I would appreciate a reply to that, and I think there's a lot of people asking this question who would like to hear the official position on this. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy. As you mentioned in your contribution, the moratorium on disconnection applies to the end of February for the vast majority of customers and to the end of March for the most vulnerable customers. Ideally, it should apply to everyone. Thinking through your question, I think it's difficult to know how you would apply that in the case of pay-as-you-go customers, just because of the nature as to how pay-as-you-go works. But the government can help, and the government wants to help in these scenarios and to help the person and the kind of people which you mentioned in your speech. How can we help? As you'll know, there will be a fuel allowance cash payment that people in receipt of the fuel allowance will receive in the next couple of weeks. In addition to that, we're extending eligibility of the fuel allowance to a lot more people, and that will kick in from the new year, subsequent to the social welfare bill being passed in this House. There will be a double social welfare payment being paid in the next few weeks, and for people not in receipt of social welfare, there'll be a double child benefit payment and also a double working family payment, and that will help people with their essential bills, and I think will help a lot. Also, there's the energy credit, €200 before Christmas, and then €200 twice again after Christmas, running through to March. And then, of course, there are the emergency needs payments, which are available from the Community Welfare Service. So that's the kind of help the government is offering in the round. I hope that answers your question in terms of what we can do to help people who are pay-as-you-go customers, and I think it is a lot of different actions which I've outlined there. Can we do without limits, which I think is what you asked? I don't think so. I don't think we could say to anyone that we can cover the cost of their electricity or gas without limits, no matter who it is. I don't think that would be reasonable or right.
Tánaiste, I'm really gobsmacked by your answer. You say that ideally it should apply to everybody, but that implies, and you've clearly indicated, it doesn't apply to everybody. And the people who it doesn't apply to, who are they? They are the people who have been disconnected in the past and who've been put onto the meters, and they are, in many cases, the lower income people in society, many of the more vulnerable people in society. And you're saying there's the fuel allowance, there's the community welfare officer, there's the energy credits. That will be fine and will get many of those people through the winter. But it will not get all of them through the winter. In fact, there's a significant number of them who it won't. And what you are saying is that they face the prospect of disconnection of their electricity. Not just for themselves and their partners, but for their kids. That's a scandal, Taoiseach. And you ask what can be done. During COVID, the emergency credit on gas was extended well beyond the usual amount. That is something that could be done, and there could be a commitment given that there will be no disconnections this winter, and that applies not for some, but for all. And that's what I'm asking for.
Thank you. Taoiseach to respond.
I think you make a fair point. It's something that I can undertake to examine in conjunction with Minister Ryan and Minister Humphreys. We do need to find a mechanism to protect pay-as-you-go customers. And I do think it's gas bills in particular that are going to present a difficulty over the next few months. We may see electricity prices falling or at least stabilising. The changes in the European rules around how electricity is calculated will help, as will the energy credit, but I think gas bills could be particularly high over the next couple of months. As I mentioned in my contribution, and you did in yours, the government is helping in lots of ways, through the fuel allowance, through other social welfare payments, through the energy credit, through the exceptional needs payments. And as you acknowledged, in the vast majority of cases, that will be enough for the vast majority of pay-as-you-go customers throughout the winter. But if there are particular hardship cases, well, then I think we need to find a mechanism to help those particular hardship cases. And I'll undertake to speak to Minister Ryan and Minister Humphreys precisely about that.